without iPads, iPhones, and Chromebooks. A life where you don't wake up every morning and check your Instagram or your Twitter. A life without social media. Opinions differ greatly on the impact that social networking is having on millennials today in both the positive and negative aspects. Is our world changing, or are we in for a rude awakening about our bad habits? Throughout my research, I have gained information on the social and cognitive development, the personal effects, and the global effects of social networking. This being said, not much research has been done on the social and cognitive development because it's so hard for us to find a test subject group that has not been exposed to internet already because it's so prominent in today's society. In the late 2014s and the early 2015s, Pew Research Center surveyed 1,060 Americans ages 13 to 17 years old, and 92% of them said that they use the internet daily. This does not prevent involvement technically. The social media does not prevent involvement of us like in other activities like sports, because we all use social media, but we are still involved in sports. And it's not specifically affecting our social lives because we're able to multitask and do other things as well. Catherine Mills says that rather than displace time spent communicating face-to-face, more teens reported spending time with their closest friends at school, 83%, or at someone's house, 58%, they reported spending time with their closest friend online, 55%. On the other hand, we feel like we don't need to learn our subjects because why would we learn them if we can just Google it? And that's kind of negative because we're not going to put as much effort into our schoolwork and stuff. We're more comfortable online because we can proofread our text and we know we're not going to mess up something that we say. And this could affect us because when we go into a job interview, we might not be as prepared as we would be without social media. We rely on social networking for all of our information, and they give us all of our information that we have. Common Sense Media in 2015 took a survey, and 50% of students admitted to using their phone while doing their homework. And that same percent said that they did not think that it would hurt their performance on their homework. But test studies show that doing 2 tasks at once is always going to equal worse performance. Like, say that you're texting something and your mom's like talking to you at the same time. You're not going like to pay attention to what she's saying. So if she asks you when you're done texting, you're going to be like, I have no idea what you said. So moving on to the personal effects, we put all of our information online. So we don't have that many secrets. And studies say that this makes us more true to ourselves. We stay connected with friends that might be out of reach otherwise with social networking, and this allows us to communicate with more people and make more friendships. We still have face-to-face communication daily, so it's not like it's replacing it completely. And group chats and hanging out with friends are 2 different things, so you're not just going to do one and not do the other. Most people are going to have group chats and hang out with friends. In opposition to this, the media only gives us information that is selective. So our personal opinions are swayed on what we know. We might only have one side of the story. Millennials do not know a life without social networking. We have always had that in our lives. So say that in the future something was to happen and we don't have it anymore. That could be an issue for us to be able to adapt to that. In Facebook in 2005, at the beginning of it, their membership was 1 million. Over the summer, it increased to 500 million. So our privacy is affected by this because anybody who wants to find out information about us can go and get that from our Facebook or other things like that. This kind of affects our lives because we're so worried about what we should and should not post because something could happen and someone could find that and like we could lose our jobs or something because of that. Our personal interaction isn't as natural as it would be without social networking because I know that I personally prefer texting over calling. Like, you don't want your grandma to call you, you'd rather text her. The global effects, Time magazine said that in 1990s, violent crime was 2 times as higher than it is today, and murder was 3 times higher in cities. This is positive because now we can spread awareness, and it's easier for us to show people if something happened, and so we're more aware of it. It's easier for us to catch criminals so we can track them through their social media or with their technology. We can also connect with other countries, and it's easier for us to make allies with them. On the other hand, this causes more concern and worry, so if one country is to have a disaster, we all feel it, like the Paris incident. We're more open and vulnerable to invasions and attacks, like from terrorists, because they can have inside information. This is kind of like the clown situation that's going on right now, because we're feeding into that and giving them attention, and without social networking, it wouldn't have grown to this. Social and cognitive development, in conclusion, social and cognitive development has been shown to both determine and have no relationship to this. Personal and global effects depend on the person and may affect us one day and not the next. I'll leave you with a question. If we are changing, is it really that big of a deal?
Do you know if like cell phones or social media are addictive at all?
I think that they are addictive, yes, because I found something that said that most students won't wake up and not check their social media, they just check it. So it's kind of addicting, but it could also just be part of our daily lives now.
So compared to in the past, people used to pick up the newspaper and read it in the morning, but now they have their phone. So what do you think on that? What's the difference between reading it on the newspaper and reading it on your phone?
I don't know. Social media and networking is kind of more biased in my opinion. So you might only see one side of a story, where the newspaper probably covered a lot of different subjects. And
I know you focused on millennials, but do you think that any other generations are potentially affected as greatly as millennials are?
I would say the generations that are to come are probably going to be affected by it more. And for older people, I would say it's probably affecting them because they have to adapt to this while it's coming into their society. They weren't used to it in the past.
Do you think that eventually maybe we will see that this is not good for us and we will sway away from social media, or no?
I personally don't think we will, but it might happen.
All right, good job.